POV, you're actually in the perfect financial position to buy a brand new Porsche 911. Great! You actually know exactly which car you want. PDK, manual, S, GTS, T, what color combo, what options you want, what options you don't want. Perfect! You actually went to a Porsche dealership, talked to an SA in person, actually secured a build code. Amazing! Next, your Porsche SA calls you and lets you know that your dream Porsche 911 will be arriving to you within a month. There's no stops there, there's no delays. Everything is as perfect as this can be, right? After all that, the next huge hurdle arises. How should you pay for your brand new Porsche 911? Should we do cash, finance, or lease? Let's go through some options. First off, pay cash. So the good thing about that is that there's no interest, there's no loan, there's no monthly payments. You just pay it once and that is it. You just kind of forget about it. The car is yours, is your asset, is your responsibility. Done. That is it. Believe it or not, 5-10 years ago, if you did actually pay cash, there would be some negotiation power because, as you all know, cash is king. But nowadays, cash doesn't necessarily mean you would get more benefit. Because I work at a car dealership, paying cash doesn't necessarily mean you would get more discount or whatnot. Yes, the factory itself might give you like a cash discount, but it's not that much. And then honestly, the opportunity cost of paying something that huge in cash is way more than lease and finance. So because the Porsche 911 is not cheap, as you would know, a typical one will be around 150 US and around 180 Canadian plus luxury tax plus tax. So it's not a cheap product. Tying so much cash, liquid cash, onto a depreciation asset might not be the best bet. The interest rates right now is actually pretty good. If you actually leave it in the bank or leave it with some security bonds, it might be a better choice than putting everything towards cash. Another thing is the stock market right now is kind of volatile. Housing market right now is actually pretty good. Believe it or not, getting an approval for a house is actually pretty hard right now. There is different stress tests for getting house approvals right now. So if you're looking to purchase a house for investment or self-living, actually holding some cash might not be a bad idea. Also, cryptocurrency is going insane right now. So honestly, if you have some liquid cash, like 50,000, 100,000, investing that might be a better bet than putting everything towards a car. After talking about cash, let's talk about financing. Here's a quick quote that I got from my Porsche SA. On this quote is about financing and cash, so you can see everything right over here. So the finance rates right now isn't the best. It's around 10.99 right now. So basically throughout the whole term, this amount is what you'll be paying if you carry out the whole term. It's good in Canada, any lease or finance, it's an open loan. So you can pay it out at any time or you can pay a huge chunk. The payments won't change, but your terms shrink. And because of that, you'll be actually paying less interest. Financing is actually a pretty good option to pay off your car. Because you're not putting that much down, or you can if you do want to. And the thing is, you're actually not tying up that much cash flow. Financing is very flexible. Again, you can pay a chunk to shorten your term, decrease your interest, and if you do want to sell to another private party, trade in for another car, you are free to do so. So that's actually a really flexible option to think about. As everything goes, if there's pros, there's always cons. For financing, you have to pay out the whole car in a set term. Let's say 5 years, 6 years, 7 years. The longer you take to pay out your car, obviously the interest rate is going to be higher. And it is a dual obligation. Like at any point in time, you must pay it out. It's not like you don't want it anymore. Yes, you can resell it. Yes, you can trade it back in, but you may take a hit. It's called negative equity. Basically is what the market value of the car right now as a trade-in value is not enough to pay off the whole loan. So in order for you to trade it in, swap for something else, or just to get rid of it, there is a gap, and that's what we call negative equity. Another thing would be the maintenance cost. Usually when you finance a car, you keep it for a longer period. For the first year or 2 year or even the third year, the maintenance cost isn't that bad. But as all German cars go, when you keep the car very, very long, over the 100k kilometers, That's when the bigger maintenance or issues comes in. So definitely keep that in mind. Next up, leasing. So when you lease a car, you just pay for the amount or time that you use of the car, and the rest will be the residual. The good news is, unless you buy out the car, you don't have to pay taxes on that residual. You only pay the tax on the time being that you actually have the car. Let's say if you do a 3-year or 4-year lease, typical for Porsche 911s, they have higher residuals, so you're basically paying around 45-48% of the car. So throughout a 4-year term, you're only paying like almost half of that. So because of that, your monthly payments is relatively lower than financing. So during financing, we talked about flexibility. In leasing, there'll be more flexibility because the payments are so low. Usually, if you do a 4-year lease, even on the 2.5-year mark, 3rd year mark, we can basically get you out clean into another lease or finance or something else. So if you're constantly bored of your car and would want to change cars every 2-3 years, leasing might be the better bet. Another thing is, because you don't keep this car that long, maintenance costs will be at the lower end because everything is so new, there's not much mileage, just less wear and tear. You probably don't need to do brakes or tires unless you're like me, you bring it to the track. If you're leasing a car, normally the maintenance cost is relatively lower than financing or cash. One more important pro of leasing is the resale value. If your car gets stolen, gets into an accident or whatnot, the resale value goes down and the car might not worth what its buyout is. For a lease, good news, after 3 or 4 years, whatever happens to the car, you just give it back to the dealership. That is it. Let's say it's got a huge accident, but the insurance won't write it off. After your lease is done, just hand the keys back. As long as you got your lease and warranty and your car is actually fixed by a proper insurance, you're good. There's no more penalties, there's nothing at all. Versus if you have a finance or cash, that car is yours no matter what. Unless it's written off or stolen, you can't find it, that car is yours. So any accidents, claims, anything like that, it'll be yours to solve. So that's a huge pro for leasing a car. As much as leasing sounds that great, there's also cons too. So leasing, that means you're actually renting the car. The car is not yours unless you buy it out, so there is no ownership. When you lease a car, there's usually kilometers restriction, so you might not be able to go to drive it that much. Again, if you want, you can always drive it to your heart content, but there will be a penalty of the over mileage. Last but not least is, because you're renting the car, essentially, you can't really modify the car. You can't put a new exhaust, you can't chip it, you can't add more turbos. Cosmetics like rims and adding badges and whatnot, yes, that's fine, but you just can't really modify the car because the car is not yours. When you bring the car back, it has to be brought back to OEM. That is it. That's the main 3 ways that you can buy a Porsche 911. Ultimately, it's up to you, it's up to your lifestyle. I'm not a financial planner. Whatever I talk about here is based on my own opinion, which I think makes sense. Do let me know in the comments below what you guys think. How did you guys buy your Porsche 911? Do you guys pay cash, finance, or lease? I personally leased it because I do think it suits my lifestyle. Hopefully you guys like this quick educational video. If you do have any other questions, definitely let me know in the comments below. Thanks again for watching, guys. Peace out.